Welcome back to episode 13 of 4D, Dev's Daily Dose of Dota. I'm your host, Michael Deficus Plumley, and today we're watching a mid-game of Navi's Dendi, but he's playing Ancient Apparition. Not a common mid laner, and definitely not one of Dendi's more common mid laners, but we've seen some excellent last hitting on his part, using the character to get a lot of denies against VP Polar's Dragon Knight in mid. Once he hit level 6 off of a few early kills, we saw him use his positioning in the middle of the map to help secure kills in the bottom and top lanes with the assistance of his Ice Blast, which does damage and also negates healing. Very helpful against heroes such as Witch Doctor, Dragon Knight, and Treant Protector. I think he's in the game. Let's hop back into the game and see the mid game coming out from Navi's Dendi's Ancient Apparition. When we left off, the Tier 2 tower had been sieged by our Navi heroes, but they were repelled at the cost of only a Batrider. However, several ultimates were put on cooldown at that expense. And we see Navi's combo of spells coming out there, the Cold Feet actually proccing there.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And with the assistance of Funnick, another hero falls. An early Midas, as a result of all those kills, has resulted in Ancient Apparition having a swell of gold. He's already picked up the Mystic Staff, well on the way to his first big item of the game. And he'll just be using this time, and a double damage rune, to farm up the jungle. There's a bit of a lull in the game now. We see him using the bottle, rotating through. Another minute and there'll be another rune spawning. But with that double damage rune, 100 damage plus another 100 because of his Mystic Staff, he can quickly net himself about 130 gold. Putting a nice vortex on the high ground also does give vision, so that would be helpful. Just using his combination of abilities to farm that much faster. At rank 4, Cold Feet does do 300 damage. And it's quite a low cooldown, 9 seconds. 4 for Ice Vortex. A little longer for Chilling Touch. So we see him prioritizing those two abilities, of course along with his ultimate Ice Blast, which has helped him secure several kills. And with the 40-second cooldown, as Dendi grabs the 20-minute rune, we've seen Ice Blast used in almost every fight. Whether he's battling a Dragon Knight in the mid lane or sitting in mid lane and shooting it up to the top lane to help out a Legion commander who has dueled someone to keep them in place. We see Dragon Knight securing a kill on Weaver in the mid lane of Ost, little out of position. But didn't know that there would be sentries in mid.
Tower is under attack. Radiant structures
and with this, Dendi's amassed another 500 gold, just farming up in the jungle. And we see another Ice Blast come out, securing the kill and cutting off the retreat in one way for several heroes of VP. And will definitely force them back. With this illusion doing work, rotating around. But we see Dendi just continuing to farm up in the jungle, using the Cold Feet for some single target DPS. And we see him with 2,500 gold, very close to his next item. Presumably will be that Scythe of Ice. 2,100 and 875. He needs a couple more camps. Using the Cold Feet in addition to the Ice Vortex to increase the damage. And we see another Ice Blast coming out just scouting out to a certain degree. They do have a ward down in the jungle. Barely missing the Razor. And at the 22-minute mark,
Dire's
FNG
bottom
protecting
tower
this
is
bottom
under
rune for
attack.
Dendi.
Is mine.
Or instead taking it, as soon as I say that.
Regeneration.
We see an ultimate orb coming out. That will have to turn around though, since Dendi is back at base. And there's been a bit of a lull in the game. But Dendi being very competitive with that last hitting. He is still tops in net worth with the assistance of those 7 kills he secured early on. And we see him just scouting out with this Ice Vortex as a Scythe of Ice comes in at the 22-minute mark. A 3.5 second almost root. The units move at 100 move speed, so that'll help proc a Cold Feet with the assistance of an Ice Vortex. And although Dendi's away from his heroes, Funnick, Skywrath Mage, who are currently fighting in the bottom lane, that Ice Vortex will, or pardon me, the Ice Blast, that ultimate, could still be deadly from half a ways away.
Radiant's
It looks like we
bottom
will see a
tower
fight
is
at the
under
bottom lane
attack.
at this tier 1 tower, and we see our Navi heroes grouping up. They're not sure if there's a smoke, so Ancient
Radiant's
Apparition just
bottom
scouting out.
tower
He
is
has a
under
Scythe of
attack.
Ice. They are ready to fight.
Radiant structures are fortified.
The Ice Blast coming out. And we're actually going to slow down this a bit, just to see his movements. We see him staying in the back. The Ice Blast is coming off. The fight's not going well. So we see the 2 supports turn tail and run. Staying at max distance. Evo's sticking around to fight. But Dendi just staying in the back. He knows Ancient Apparition, one of the more squishy intelligence heroes out there. And a bit of a whiff on the Ice Blast, with all heroes still up. But using the long range on the Ice Vortex to slow the retreating path, and Funnick going in. With that dual engagement, we see Dendi moving in, helping to secure a kill on presumably that Razor, as he does fall. But with the Legion Commander falling as well, our heroes may have to give up this tier 1 tower. However, Ice Blast is back off a cooldown,
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
and we see Dendi dangerously close to this Batrider, but Lasso's on cooldown. Force staff help from the Skywrath Mage, and they're turning around on this. Ice Vortex going down along with an Ice Blast may catch the Batrider as he turns around. And a Cold Feet almost securing a stun on that Dragon Knight. As all the heroes of VP now looking to abandon, and they will get out. Not a bad engagement for either side. VP securing the kill on this tier 1 tower, as well as on IO at the start of that fight, and the Legion Commander. However, Razor does pay for it with his life. And we see a Gem of True Sight come out next. That fight was started with an invis from the Batrider, getting off an excellent lasso on the IO. This will help negate some of that surprise element coming from VP. Actually, it wasn't an invis rune, it was the Nature's Guys coming out from Tree and Protector. We see Dendi returning to farm.
Invisibility!
He'll soon have his Gem of True Sight, 500 gold. Sticking together with his allies. Funnick on the front line with his Invis rune. They may be looking to push out into the jungle. But what's this VP gathering up for another smoke? They're looking to engage in on our heroes, and we're going to see how this fight rolls out. Batrider's on the prowl. He hooks Ancient Apparition. A lot of damage is coming out, but Press the Attack breaks it, along with a Force Staff. Paralyzing cast hitting on Dendi, but it's worn off. Funnick a little far ahead, but
That was careless.
the Ice Blast coming in would have landed on Razor, and it does. Right at the second that BKB expires. And we see 2 Ice Vortexes placed to try and cover what was always going to be a double death from IO. And our Ancient Apparition.
Dire's bottom
That
tower
will send
is
our
under
Navi
attack.
heroes back to base. We saw the Ice Blast, Ice Vortex. Not quite enough to negate the Eye of the Storm, along with a Death Ward that helped kill Funnick, who was a little far ahead for his own good. And on the heels of that fight, VP, 8 kills down, will attempt to get in a Roshan. We notice that Dendi no longer highest on net worth. That now goes to our Avost, who does have the gem of Dendi's along with his Lincoln Sphere and a Yasha. Razor
Golden thread.
on VP Polar not doing too bad himself.
Dire's Roshan has fallen to the down.
Picking up some armor and the BKB to hopefully try and dodge, among other things, that Ice Blast coming out by Dendi. But that will be a fight going the way of VP and a resulting Roshan. Ice Blast coming out, hitting the Batrider, and there will be a teleport, or a relocation rather, from IO. Not quite fast enough to get the Batrider though. He does have a blink and a Force Staff, along with the first item for what should be a BKB. We see our mid lane Dendi just returning to the mid, getting another last hit or two while there's a lull in the game. Backing up. He's amassed 1,000 gold. He has a magic wand now,
A golden thread.
and getting very close to that level 16 for another point in Ice Blast, which not only increases the damage per second, not only increases the duration, but also increases slightly the threshold for that one-shot shatter. We see a smoke on our Skywrath Mage as all heroes of Navi are grouped up mid. They're looking to push in to this tier 2 tower. Navi Dendi just checking out, hoping the Batrider isn't waiting to ambush them.
Radiant's
But they're
top
not.
tower is under attack.
They're instead looking to take this
Dire's
tier 1
middle
tower top lane.
is under attack.
Our heroes are smoked up. A little apprehensive on how to proceed. They know they cannot defend that tier 1
Radiant
tower, so
structures
instead
are
they press
fortified.
to the tier 2.
Radiant's top tower is under
Funnick
attack.
already with 48 damage,
Dire's middle tower
just
is under attack.
tanking up the front line, getting some damage, and then falling back. They do not secure the kill, and that living armor can begin to reheal it. Instead, they will smoke Ice Vortex,
Invisibility.
scouting out the Dragon Knight transition lane to the bottom. And our heroes from Navi just retreat to their own jungle, using his Midas. Looks like he will be working on a Force Staff of his own to help improve positioning in the fights, giving him a total of 6 abilities that he can use in every single fight from the get-go. We see another Cold Feet just coming out, improving the gold per minute farm. He's at full mana, why not? Using a nice Vortex to cover in case there is a smoke gank coming out from VP Polar. But they're bottom lane, pushing it out. Along with Batrider, moving through the jungle, stealing a little bit of the farm, which is scouted out by this genuine wide angle ward from Navi. Dendi Ice Blast down to the bottom lane. He will secure some kills, some gold, and just limit the pushing ability from the creeps. But other than that, he's staying with his supports, the Skywrath Mage, pushing on with the carry of Ost, who does have that Gem of True Sight. And Dendi getting close to his next item. VP Polar getting close to the next fight. As we see the Hex going off, an Ice Vortex, or rather a Cold Feet, into an Ice Vortex. But after that, Ancient Apparition retreating.
Dire's top tower is under
Along with the
attack.
Skywrath Mage porting away. Dendi just farming up the jungle, helping to push out the
Radiant's
2-2
middle
tower,
is under attack.
and using the Ice Vortex
Dire's structures are
to
fortified.
help repel the pushing
Dire's
from
top
VP.
tower is under attack. Radiant's
This
middle
tower is being healed
under
up.
attack.
Dendi using his time to finish farming up that Force Staff as an Assault Cuirass comes out for Dragon Knight. But our heroes will look to push out this top lane now. Another Hex going off into a Cold Feet, into an Ice Vortex, and Batrider quickly falls. And with that, our heroes will be happy to retreat. We saw 3 abilities come out there in quick succession from our mid laner of Navi. But after the fight, we see Dendi typically staying in the back for the fights, letting Avost with that Gem of True Sight and Funnick sit in the front, the first line of defense from VP. Dendi rotates to pick up that rune, this time a haste rune.
'Tis mine.
And he puts the TP scroll on the courier. Interesting courier. Genuine Doom Lane. I should probably buy one of those. I regret selling mine. But you gotta pay for tickets. What are you gonna do? For Navi, it seems like they're gonna pressure this tower, even with living armor. Avost's illusions pressing out in the mid lane. Or will they? They see the rotation, the teleportation scrolls, and they may just choose to back up here.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Avost blocking that creep camp, making sure Dendi doesn't get that Hand of Midas off. What a great guy. As we see a mechanism coming out for the IO. Smoke coming out for the Skywrath Mage. They may be looking to fight soon. Dendi waiting to see this lane push up. He still, as always, has now a rank 3 Ice Blast ready to support his allies should they fight in the mid lane. Using the Cold Feet along with an Ice Vortex. Get an extra 60 gold or so. And our heroes from VP in the opposite lane expecting a push that will not come. Instead, Dendi alone, the typically squishy Ancient Apparition, has all the space created in the world to continue pushing up on this lane. He's already amassed 700 more gold. He'll let the creeps push out to the tower
Dire's top tower is under attack.
and back up. Just getting some extra farm in this forest. Ancient Apparition still very competitive on net worth. Above the mid lane Dragon Knight. Above Sodoy. Above even his own carry Funnick. Only second to Avost and the Razor. Now triggering the haste rune. We see him moving to the side shop, selling the bottle, picking up a TP scroll. And he will rotate back mid to assist his allies. Or back to base, we'll see. Meanwhile, VP, there hasn't been a big fight recently. They're grouping up mid. Razor pushing out the mid lane. Now has a Shiva's Guard online. Roshan not quite up yet. Up in another minute. And Dendi just sitting in an opposite lane, ensuring that if there is a fight that comes out, he will be able to get a maximum size Ice Blast, or near maximum. Now with a Scythe of Ice, a Force Staff, and all 4 abilities maxed out at his disposal. He leaves the farming to Funnick in his jungle. Just getting some extra DPS, helping the creeps be cleared out. Our Navi squad grouping up in mid with Skywrath Mage picking up that point booster. Still has brown boots. He may be working towards his old stick. VP Polar are smoked out. Rotating through the jungle. They will not find anyone, however. Navi, very artly, staying together. Rotating away. Ice Blast coming out should scout out the flames from our Batrider as well as a Roshan. With only a 40-second cooldown, that'll be up by the time the next fight occurs. And we see our Ancient Apparition at the back of the composition, using the Ice Vortex to zone. Funnick on the front lines. And that F&G smoke will be deployed. The Tier 2 tower will be the target. Our hero's just sitting back. Avost being initiated on. He will retreat. Very short range relocation there. And the fight comes out. With our heroes being repelled. A nice vortex being deployed by Dendi. And the engagements will be disengaged just as quickly as they occur. Not much IO could do about that. He will fall. Dendi, instead, ports to the mid lane. Begins pushing it out. He's already amassed 2,000 gold. Could begin saving up for that ult stick. As we see a rotation coming out from VP Polar. Dendi instead choosing to farm up the relatively safe creep camp, or is it? As we see Sadoy looking, hoping to catch out Dendi. Not today. And still just staying grouped with his heroes. There's a bit of a lull in the action. Instead, Ice Blast checking for Roshan, and what does he see? Our heroes of VP Polar engaging. The Ice Blast catching off on 2 heroes that time, but it will force them to disengage, at least temporarily. Our heroes from Navi grouping up. He's just getting in range, wants to place an Ice Vortex to scout things out. And it looks like there will be a fight here. Multiple Ice Vortexes just in the direct attack path. And as we slow things down, we see a Hex before our Batrider can engage. Dendi immediately retreating back up the hill. Another Ice Vortex coming down, zoning out. The ultimate coming out for our Witch Doctor at the back. And our 2 supports will be forced back. With Tree and Protector falling very low. FNG was a bit out of position there. They may wish to re-engage. Avost a little out of position. We see just defensive Ice Vortexes slowing down the path of the Razor. We see another Ice Blast come out. Will it connect? It will. Helping to secure the kill on that Witch Doctor. And now 2 heroes down. VP Polar are forced to disengage. A substantial amount of damage coming out from our support AA, as well as good positioning, staying on the high ground, letting Funnick engage along with Avost. And they're rewarded with a Gem of True Sight. I believe that was conceded to them. Yep, now the one on Avost and one on FNG. And with 2 heroes down for VP Polar,
Dire's middle tower is under
Razor
attack.
may have to concede this Roshan. It's just falling too quickly.
Roshan has fallen to the
All of
Radiant.
that off of the back of an attempted engagement onto
Radiant's
Dendi's Ancient
top tower
Apparition,
is under
but
attack.
very quick reactions on that Scythe of Ice. Scythe of Icing, immediately Ice Vortexing Cold Feet. And with the help of FNG, killing 2 and securing Roshan. You see 3k gold for Ancient Apparition now. Almost level 18. Staying very competitive on levels. Second on his team. Same can be said for net worth, though Funnick is finally catching up in gear. And our heroes from Navi just continuing to stay together. The 2 supports, FNG and Dendi, along with the IO, all within a screen of each other. And with that Aegis, we see Navi begin to move towards the mid lane. Will they pressure this tower, possibly? Meanwhile, VP, a little out of position. They didn't know if there would be a
Dire's
rotation to
middle
the top
tower is
lane.
under
Instead,
attack. Dire's
multiple defensive
structures
TPs are having to come out.
fortified.
The fortification comes out, but Avos is doing too much damage. Living armor procced away,
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
and we see Dendi, Ice Blast, Ice Vortex, hitting on just one hero. Sudoi was BKB'd there, but the Hex off him, jawed him, in addition to a Cold Feet, will help secure the kill. And that is an Ice Blast on Razor as well. The damage has been done. Funnick has died, but 2 have died for VP. We see all heroes getting involved there. The Hex, all of his abilities being used. And at the 41-minute mark, Navi have just continued to keep pressure on their lead. We've seen some changes throughout the game, but always in their favor. Especially on the heels of great mid laning from Ancient Apparition, securing some kills on Dragon Knight. We see another Ice Blast coming out, again onto the Dragon Knight, barely missing the Razor. Ice Vortex coming in for good measure. He's looking to chase a little bit, may get one more Ice Vortex off, instead he chooses to retreat. This time placing 1 defensively. It's only 110 mana, helping to secure the retreat. And at 4,000 gold, he is very close to that Aghanim Scepter. It's now the 42-minute mark. The tier 2 has fallen mid. We see Avos getting quite big. Has his butterfly now. Funnick
Radiant's
has died a few
bottom tower
times,
is under
still a little
attack.
behind, but did complete his Assault Cuirass. And our heroes from Navi rotate to the bottom lane to push out the creep wave, which was just beginning to hit the tower. Also a Vladzor coming up for IO, using the Cold Feet, Ancient Apparition. Just increase the DPS. And the Aegis being reclaimed soon. We see the ult stick on the courier for Dendi. And there it is, 43-minute mark. Choosing a different itemization than you'll see in many unranked matches or ranked as you're pubbing online. We see a lot of Ancient Apparitions just go immediately for the ult stick. But on the heels of some early gold kills and creep kills from being put in the mid lane, Ancient Apparition was able to secure a Midas and that early Scythe of Ice, which we have seen very instrumental in just
Radiant's top tower
de-initiating
is
some of
under
these
attack.
engagements where Batrider is hoping to blink Force Staff in and grab what is typically a squishy support like Dendi or IO. We see the top lane will need to be pushed out soon, but they may have their eyes set on this tier 2 tower. Dendi just continuing to move with his team, but stay in the back. The further distance away from the Ice Blast, the better. Larger area, and a much easier of a skill shot to hit. using the Ice Vortex, just checking, see if there's a Bat Rider. Making sure they don't get engaged on it. Instead, it will be this tier 2 bottom tower.
Dire's bottom tower
The
is
Devost,
under
with the
attack.
help of a double damage rune, will just disintegrate.
Dire's bottom
And we may
tower
have our
has
first
fallen.
tier 3 high ground of the game. Dendi expecting a counter initiation, just using the Ice Vortex to scout out and zone. But VP Polar are back in their base. The Aegis is reclaimed on Weaver now. And we see the two sides ready to meet. Bat Rider looking for an easy kill. He's looping around, would love to get to Dendi, who's been standing at the back. But the disengage, blinking in. Dendi staying at the back still. He immediately puts on a cold feet into a chilling touch to help his team's DPS. And staying at the back. Waiting for the BKBs to wear off. Funnick is falling low. But Ice Blast coming out. G, already hexed, will not be able to avoid that. And Avos just cleaning up. Dendi getting into a bit of a fight here, but with multiple chilling touches, or rather Ice Vortexes, Dragon Knight will fall. I want to rewind just briefly, the last 10 seconds or so, and see how Dendi's staying very patient at the back of the... And with buybacks coming out, we know that this Dragon Knight is a big target. We see a Hex, a Chilling Touch, one to control his retreat path, an Ice Blast coming out, a second to control his retreat path, a Cold Feet, limiting his ability to engage, and then another one offensively. And with this much of a slow, he was never going to get out. And Dendi is able to right-click him down. Avos living... Oh. That is Avos up here. More than at full health. Securing multiple kills. And just looking at the fight recap, we saw 2 cold feet out up there. 3 Ice Vortexes. You saw the Hex off of on our Dragon Knight. And it's a full team wipe for VP. Losing only the Funnick, who helped initiate that fight on his Legion Commander. It's the 45-minute mark. That full team wipe will result in our first high ground breach, so we will take a short break. That's definitely what I would consider the end of the mid-game. Our heroes are getting quite big. There's an Assault Cuirass out on Funnick, Avost, in addition to the Butterfly, 3,000 gold. He'll soon be picking up an item to complement his Lincoln Spear and his Manta. We're going to take a break and see the thrilling conclusion to episode 13 of 4D, Def's Daily Dose of Dota, featuring Navi Dendi's Midlane Ancient Apparition. We'll be back after this.